One of the biggest misconceptions about men is that silence means they don't care. When a man gets quiet, people often assume he's being distant, he's angry, he's avoiding me, he just doesn't care anymore. Sometimes those things are true. I ain't even gonna hold you. Sometimes things are they true. But many times silence has nothing to do with a lack of care. Sometimes silence is what hurt looks like the most. Seriously. So today we're going to talk about why many men go silent when they're struggling, hurting, overwhelmed, disappointed, stressed, or just emotionally exhausted. Hold on. I'm not even going to leave out financially exhausted because y'all already know. Y'all already know. This conversation is not about making excuses for poor communication. It's about understanding what may be happening underneath the behavior because understanding, y'all know that's my favorite word, creates better conversations and relationships. So let's get into it, y'all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your girl, Kenya. And quick check in questions for my fellas. When was the last time you truly felt heard? Think about it. Think about it. When was the last time you truly felt heard? Mm-hmm. I know. I know, fellas. I mean, listened, did not respond, did not argue, did not push back, did not nothing. Now, the biggest misconception that my fellas go through is what? Like I said earlier, he doesn't care. They assume you don't care, you just lay back, it's whatever. And that is not always the case. That's not always the case. Sometimes it's what? Overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And you guys don't know how to explain what you're feeling. I don't know what's wrong. Sometimes you really honestly just don't know what's wrong in the moment. Or if you do know what's wrong, you're processing it in that moment. And you might just not want to be judged. And the challenge that people are having is that they often, again, interpret silence based on their fears instead of the person's reality. Now, what does that mean? Come on, think about it based on their fears. So now that the man is silent, the other person is like, what did I do? What was the last discussion that we had? They're going through text message threads, like, what was the last thing I said? And then maybe the last thing they said, they like, oh my God, did they read it wrong? Yeah, I know. I know. So listen. Oh, wait. I do have a question. Have you ever felt misunderstood because you needed some space? Ooh. All right, here we go. So let's get into 5 reasons why my fellas go silent. 5. And this is just 5 of them, right? What is it, fellas? Never taught to express emotions, the fear of being judged or dismissed. Oh my goodness, dismissed. Being dismissed is one that we do not talk about enough. So let's get into it. Grab your notebook for your tips and your cup for your sips. Hold on. Notebook for your tips. Yes, yes, yes. And your cup for your sips. Hold on. Now, when my fellows are getting cut off, or if they are deemed to be the strong one or the one again that doesn't care, they're often felt like they've been dismissed when they're cut off, when they're just like, oh, whatever. Or, ooh, that's a big one. We'll get into that topic another time because we're going to finish this list. But you got your notebook for your tips. Write these down. Number 3, they're protecting their relationship. Ooh, if I had $1 for every time a guy was just like, look, it's whatever. I just want the peace. It's whatever. Protecting their relationship. They're overwhelmed and shutting down. Everybody's depending on them. They have so much going on, hitting it from left to right, back, forth, front, back, side to side, bring it in, bring it out. And their past vulnerability was used against them. We could do a whole nother presentation session discussion workshop about number 5 alone. All right, number 5 alone. We can definitely do. So let's run back the whole 5 again. And this is what I'm going to do. Number 1, 5 reasons men go silent. Number 1, they were never taught to express emotions. Number 2, they fear being judged or dismissed. Number 3, they're protecting their relationship. Number 4, they're overwhelmed and shutting down. And number 5, past vulnerabilities have been used against them. I can actually do a presentation on each one of them. Presentation, session, discussion, whatever you guys want to do. But let's go through this one. What men were taught? Man up. Don't cry. Figure it out. Nobody wants to hear all that. Just be strong. Men, get up. Yeah, that's what they've been taught. That's what they've been taught. Don't cry. Handle it. But very few are taught, how are you feeling? What do you need? Let's talk about it. You're allowed to struggle because you are allowed to struggle. But let them know, like, hey, what are you crying for? I'm trying to think. I don't have a son, but I mentor a lot of my boys. And I'm trying to think of what I've seen and how I would. Could it be something like, okay, let's go with athletes, right? They're out there playing Pop Warner and he falls. Because I'm thinking you could be like, what are you crying for? And then he'll say, because I failed. But then I've even seen too where it's like, that's why you cry, because you fail. Man, get up. You know, fellas, we really got to do better at that. And maybe yes, I am talking from a woman's perspective, but these are the things that are leading to the adulthood of the mental health and the emotions and things that we are going through now and the crashing out. You know what? We're going to get into that later. You know what? Drop your comments because, again, every time I do a presentation or a session, I like calling them sessions rather than presentations. But every time I do a session, I feel like a session comes out of a session with the help of you guys in the comments and just some things that just needs to be touched on. Okay. Let's keep going. Silence versus withdrawal, because we're almost done with this one. This is a good one. I like this. We really need to do this one live. Silence, a pause to process, and then withdrawal is a shutdown from pain. So I always joke and I'll be like, hey, come back. Come back. If y'all know what the reference is, y'all know what the reference is. Because always come back. Space, time, that is fine. But make sure you come back. Withdrawal is when you just don't come back. You just done, you over it. And then next thing you know, it's like you hungry, you want to get something to eat. That's withdrawal. One is healthy and one is a cry for help. I like to say one is avoidance at the end of the day. One is definitely avoidance. Let's see how hurt shows up. When men are hurting, you might see them overworking. That is a good one because if you notice before, I did not want to leave out finances at all because my fellas be going in about their finances. And not only that, to get their mind off. To get their mind off of it, they just work. They take up that overtime that is handed out. They are looking for it and they're just working hard. They on other days when they go in and they just be waiting for the clock to come down so they can hurry up. Not during these days. Nope. Numbness. Ooh, my fellas be feeling numb. They're just irritable and isolation. That is it. Because they're trying to process it. They're trying to figure it out. their pain responses, trying to figure it out. What men actually need. Hmm. So, space without punishment. Space without punishment. My fellas need the space to process not only what to do next, but I think that we don't understand that processing goes in phases and waves. So when you're talking about somebody processing something, you're talking about they have to process what happened and then process the fact that they need to figure it out, whatever it is. So now they're trying to process how to figure out what happened. And then they have to process the change that this is going to affect or occur or be in the future or whatever the case may be. So space without punishment, because you can't rush things like that. You can't, and then, why you and also there's a part of the smothering that we don't talk about and the overbearing that we don't talk about. We're like, what's wrong? What happened? Anything I can do? What's wrong? You're not talking. Come eat. You hungry? That's that. Patience without pressure. Reassurance that vulnerability is safe. Those are things like take your time. No worries. I'm here if you need me for whatever you need me for. And I'm going to tell you, if you ask, are you okay? They're going to say yes. So don't ask. Don't ask, are you okay? You good? They're going to say yes. And that's not the answer that you want. And that's not what you're looking for. A partner who listens to understand. No punishments, no judgments. No, it see that part right there, you have to know how to read your room and read your audience, because you have to listen and then also understand at what point you need to say something or not say something. You need to know your role in that moment. And that all comes with getting to know your partner. That's that part. And then permission to feel without fixing. Boom. That's what I was getting into. That's the part I was getting into right there. A lot of people don't need to be fixing in their process. Let's normalize waiting to be asked for advice, fixing, resource, and all that other kind of stuff. Now, I'm not saying don't ever offer. People, you just got to learn how to read your room. Now, these are the questions I want you to ask yourself. Hold on, let's go back because I want you to see these questions very clear. Hold on. So, here are your reflection questions. When you go silent, what are you really feeling? What would it take for you to feel safe enough to speak? Now, what I'm going to say about this one too is that I might just do a whole session about knowing your audience, because sometimes you're valid for not feeling safe to speak around certain people and in certain environments. That is why this question here is a good one for you to deep dive into, because you'll get the answers. What would it take for you to feel safe enough to speak? And sometimes the answer is not to be in that room, or not to speak to that person, or not to speak of this. Yeah, it could be that. I want you to think a little bit. How can your partner create space without pressure? How can your partner create space without pressure? Now, when I say these reflection questions, remember, get your notebook for your tips. Hold on, I always get my cup first. Your notebook for your tips, and your cup for your tips, of course. But when we're going through these reflection questions, these are the ones that I want you to ask yourself and write down the raw, honest answers. This isn't what we're sharing right now, because what we can do is you can reach out to me, comment, chat, DM, email, however else. We could go through what you're saying and then learn how to translate it in the most What's the word I was looking for? In the most effective way to communicate it to your partner. Because at the end of the day, the goal is for all of us to have a healthy and better relationship. And these are the ways that we could do it. So let's go with number 4. What did silence look like in your household growing up? Mm-hmm. That's a good one right there. That's a great one. So hold on. Let me put these up because I want you to go through these. When you go silent, what are you really feeling? What would it take for you to feel safe enough to speak? How can your partner create space without pressure? What did silence look like in your household growing up? That's deep, y'all. There's your keepsake takeaway. Silence is not always rejection. Sometimes it's protection. What happens before the reaction matters. It's pause, process, and proceed, y'all. Thank you for joining this session. Like I said, I like my sessions. And I hope to see you at the very next one. If you didn't see the very first one, go back. Look at that one. If you have any questions, comments, follow me, Kenya's Keepsake, on all platforms. And I'll see you later.